7:45. Any adjustments to the agenda other
Just
than
adding
that
the
addition of
minutes, yeah.
August 17th and 18th minutes? So I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes of August 17th and 18th.
So moved. Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of August 17th and 18th. Unless there's any further discussion, all those in favor? Aye. All right.
Tom forgot that he needed to be here, so he had another meeting to go to, so I told him we'd put it on the next agenda
Okay.
again.
All right, then that takes us right to a Conservation Commission appointment.
Right. We are now at this appointment. If it's approved, we have 9 members.
A full
We'll
board.
have a full group. And this appointment is for Ellen Holmes, who works at SIT, as you probably all know, and has incredible organizing, I think, probably potential, and administrative kinds of things. But more to the point, she walks Sand Hill Road a couple times a day, walking her dog, and is very interested in the wetland, and knows Mary Quinn, and I think will be excellent in terms of moving some of the ideas that we put forward in the stewardship plan forward. And I can't do everything. So we highly are recommending her. And I also, as an aside, want to say Susan McDormand has been involved now, working on the Triangle Garden, and is interested in helping with Beatrice Aiken. If we had 10 slots, we'd put her on too. But and I think we'll just try to work in a committee sense with her and keep her involved as well. So things are definitely filling up, and we're very pleased to have a full commission, I should say, hopefully.
Yeah, that's great. I have to say that might be almost a first in our town to have that board completely full.
Happy to welcome or to nominate or to move that we accept the application of Ellen Holmes
All right.
to the Conservation Commission.
Gladly seconded, yeah.
That's been moved and seconded. Ellen, do you want to comment, or do you want to just, you don't
You have
feel
some prepared
need
remarks,
to,
right?
but if you get, but you know, otherwise we'll just go ahead, so.
Just want to thank everyone.
Well-
I think it's, the wetlands is a wonderful, wonderful treasure in Putney.
Yeah,
Anything I can do to help continue its preservation and management,
Yeah.
I'd like to help.
great, thank you.
Good.
All right, if there's no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, good, thank you very much.
You.
Congratulations. Congratulations, Ann, you've been
Yeah.
building this group for a while,
Eva
so.
Lyman has had a big hand in this too, and a lot of other people recommending people.
Good, good. Thank you. And feel free to stay, but you don't have to. Okay, so next is our, Maria, I'm assuming you're here for the next stage, Our Town grant,
Right.
so.
I'm here really just to share information about a grant proposal that I'm the executive director of Next Stage Arts Project in Putney. And now that we are an accessible facility because of the renovations, we are eligible to apply for a grant to the National Endowment for the Arts for the first time. We couldn't do that until now. And so we are preparing an application to the NEA for something called an Our Town grant, which is really making a partnership with the town of Putney. It has nothing to do with the capital campaign or renovations, it's about programming. And the concept, in short, is to, we have these amazing stories behind the renovation of this space. We think, it's born from how the town came together to rebuild the general store and reclaim the town center. And there are people who donated lumber from their land to the rebuilding and who have donated all kinds of services. I mean, hundreds, I would say, of volunteers and talented artists and so on. We want to get at a deeper level of the stories behind the project. And so we're looking at working with an internationally established group called Narrative, which works with all kinds of organizations, including governments around the world, to get at storytelling with the aim of building legacy. And so we would work with them to come in and do some sort of training the trainers, also working with the Vermont Folklife Center, and that would allow us to, over the course of 12 to 18 months, go out and unearth more stories of the people behind this community. We very much have in mind engaging people who haven't necessarily been involved with the cultural activities here in town yet, who may feel that it doesn't relate to them or they haven't seen an opening for them. So we would be very actively reaching out to the full range of people in the community to participate and share their stories. The culmination of this would be a 2-week festival in the fall of 2017, I think, or a year from when we would get the grant, where we would do, one of the things that's unique about Next Stage is we don't just do music or theater or film or spoken word events, we do all of those. So we would like to tell those stories through all those mediums. Not only at Next Stage, but at other venues around the town. For example, we have an example of how we already do this is actually Christopher Irian took a number of photographs that pair Putney Central School students with mentors in town, and then they write about it. Some of those are on display at the Putney Library, but we're thinking about different venues in town, including the community center. How could we use those venues to share these stories around town? Lots of partners, Green Writers Press, certainly the Putney Historical Society is a central partner because it's all about getting at the history and stories in the community at a deeper level. If I could, I would love to just read the vision and mission statement of Next Stage because it really, I think, gets at this and why we see this fundamentally as a partnership with the town. The vision of Next Stage is a beacon of artistic and cultural engagement, contributing to the economic vitality of our region and inspiring creative communities everywhere. One note on that, one of the things that this group Narrative does, a component of what they do in the storytelling is podcasts, so we want to work with Vermont Public Radio to harness these stories and share it more broadly. Our mission is to be a magnet for community connection and cultural exploration. So we've been looking too at the town's language around economic vitality and culture, and we think this is a natural fit. We haven't submitted the grant yet. We wanted to come and just sort of share our thinking about this at the beginning of the process, and I would hope to come back if we get the grant or as the process unfolds to keep the select board and the town informed and engaged.
And just so you know, Cynthia and I have met with Maria and also Billy Strauss, and remind me who you're...
Robin Weissel.
Robin.
Who works on development projects with us.
Just to, sort of for the same purpose, to be informed about this. Can you refresh my memory, Maria, what the town's role would be, if any, in administration, et cetera, of a grant like this?
There would be no formal responsibilities to the town and administration, and certainly no financial obligation on the part of the town. We would seek the town's advice and counsel about, as we go about engaging different members of the community and keeping people informed and avenues open for people to communicate. You know, we would consider the town a partner in that respect, but there are no, we would intend to manage and administer the grant.
And we technically, if I'm remembered correctly, we aren't actually a partner in the grant application, is that correct? We would endorse it per se, but it would be you guys who would be doing the
Yes.
grant application.
Oh, yes,
Okay,
that's correct.
that's what I remembered, I just wanted to make sure. Good.
Would that mean the town would write a letter of support to be included in the
Yes,
proposal?
yes, definitely, we would want, very much seek a letter of support. And again, just to be clear, we see Next Stage as, the mission of Next Stage is certainly to use the performing arts, but it is about enhancing the economic and cultural vitality of Putney and Southern Vermont.
Right. And, you know, the 8th grade class at Putney Central with Evie and Leah do narratives and whatnot.
Yes.
Is there a way of involving
Oh,
them in the
absolutely.
entire process?
Yes, and that's why I mentioned the Vermont Folklife Center, because that's actually, that we have worked with Evie and Leah and the Vermont Folklife Center
Mhm.
in storytelling at Next Stage, and we would absolutely want to incorporate and expand that partnership with them.
Excellent, yeah.
Good,
Okay,
good, thank you.
Yeah.
Whatever I can do, let me know.
okay, thank you, I'll keep you posted.
Sounds good. All right, you also are welcome to stay if you want to, but don't
Or
feel like
don't.
you have to.
That's fine.
All right, Whitney request.
There's a memo in here about it. No names are on it.
Thanks, Brant. The White Whitney Oversight Committee is requesting to expend $150 from the White Whitney Fund to help a citizen in Putney, a Putney citizen in need of help. The committee has reviewed the application for this individual and has agreed that the citizen has met the criteria for approval for this expense.
I will make a motion that we accept the recommendation of the White Whitney Oversight Committee to expend $150 from the White Whitney Fund.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded to approve White Whitney's request.
Actually, do you want to finish that sentence as to help a
To
Putney
ex-
citizen in need
To
of help?
expend $150 from the White Whitney Fund to help a Putney citizen in need of help.
Amending my own motion.
It's been moved and seconded. If there's no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good. Animal Control
Did you
Officer.
see that email?
I did,
From,
yep.
Okay, I don't know if I actually printed the email, I meant to, but,
I-
I mean, I put this on here before I got that email. So,
Did anybody else see that email?
no,
Or was it
it was
just
just
me?
you and me.
Okay.
Okay, so I put animal control officer on the agenda, on whatever day I did it, was Monday, because I need to actively, I've gotta do something.
Right.
It's the animal control, calls that we're getting, you know, aggressive dogs, barking dogs. It's been a lot in the last couple weeks, and I just don't have, the aggressive dog issue that we had, I did contact the sheriff's department, and Josh and Dana both helped me with that situation. But, so I wanna actively, go out and try to find somebody. In the meantime, Josh and I got an email from someone from Brattleboro, and I can't remember his name right off the top of my head, but he also had an interest in being constable. I emailed him back today and asked him, told him that we were working on defining what we want our constable to do, but would he be interested in just animal control, and I haven't heard back from him. I called Vermont Leagues of Cities and Towns today. They said that the animal control officer is not a statutory required position, so we can have somebody that doesn't live in Putney.
His name is Andrew Cottrell, C-O-T-R-E-L. The constable can also be someone that's not a Putney resident. It can?
It can.
Oh, I
did
was
ask
wondering
the
about
league
that, 'cause I
They said
assumed
because
it
it's
couldn't.
appointed, they can. If it was
Oh, okay.
elected, and
Oh.
because we appoint hours, they
Yeah.
can.
Yeah.
So, the one thing I wanted to talk to you guys about is that we put enough money in the budget to pay somebody a stipend of $150 a month,
Mhm.
which is very little, but it was a place for us to start.
Mhm.
I was wondering if you guys would give me some leeway to, whoever I talk to, work with that number a little bit and maybe come up with something. We do have a little extra money in the sheriff's budget because of the change in I mean, I don't even know what I'm looking at right now. I just kind of need to be able to talk to people and say, okay, if you want to do this and whatever your criteria, whatever you're able to do, however many hours you're able to put in, it really is going to determine what I would like them to do. I'd like an animal control officer to start knocking on some doors and start getting some of these animals that are not licensed. But that takes time.
And in the past, we have paid an animal control officer per diem or
No, well,
hourly,
I don't
haven't
know prior to me being here what happened, but Henry never got paid.
we? We did have somebody, do you remember?
There was a lady
a woman,
doing it,
yeah.
Ann Eddie.
Right.
And
It was
we,
paid, I think it was an hourly rate.
that's
Yeah,
what
so-
I think too.
I've called around and, Westminster was paying somebody and that was $12 an hour, and then they were paying the mileage. Guilford pays somebody $10 an hour. I think there's other people that it's stipend.
Yeah,
So-
I guess,
I just feel like,
I think a stipend of 150 would make sense to sort of have somebody on call per
Right.
se, but then there would have to
And that
be
was-
some sort of an hourly, I don't know how you.
Right.
I guess I just wanted to make sure you guys knew that that's what we put in the budget, but if I get anybody, obviously I want to talk to this person that already reached out to us, but if I get somebody and we start talking about that I have a little bit of leeway to say, well, this is new for us to pay somebody. If we want to start with so much an hour and you tell me how, I don't know, I would come back to you guys before, obviously, because you have to appoint the person anyways.
And if you go back, I don't know how easy to find, I'm pretty sure it would be in the minutes what we were paying.
We're paying, yeah,
Yeah.
Because I remember those
the
discussions.
payroll, right.
Yeah.
And that must have been fairly shortly before your time, because I would say that was maybe 6 years ago, something like that, I don't
It was
know.
within the last 10, I know.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. I did contact Russ Hodgkins in Westminster. He actually asked their animal control officer if they were interested in helping us out, and she's not,
She's not.
she's not interested, no. I think she's good with what she's doing, and the whole Brattleboro thing just has not worked out. They really wanted 1 day a week.
Position.
Because, they were like, if we're gonna supply somebody, it's gonna be 1 day a week, you need to pay somebody 1 day a week. Which we may.
Not that they would work 1 day a week, but we would be paying them.
Well, no, really, well, that's the thing, is they were like, we would want a dedicated day. I'm like, how do you dedicate a day? I don't
Yeah,
know when a dog's
exactly.
gonna bark at somebody
Right,
when
no,
they're
that
not.
doesn't
That
work.
type of position is more of a proactive, go out and start knocking on doors kind of thing.
Right,
Get to know people, get to know,
right,
but then what happens on an off day?
when you get called.
So that's why that got a little
Yeah,
complicated,
yeah.
and if we could figure it out, and I haven't really pursued it, and I think there was some,
Is there, and this is just a stipend, is there money available separately for materials? Because
Equipment.
yeah, a little
Equipment.
bit, I don't,
I imagine there is the possibility of having to transport an animal.
well, yeah, and that was part of, Henry never really asked us for much, but we did have that conversation of, getting him equipment, and I know the last animal control officer we had, we did, start to
Talk about
about it, and
Yeah.
then she left, but,
Is that something that
so we have 1,800 budgeted there.
even now the town can begin to maybe purchase?
Yeah, I think we need to, yeah.
So that we're ready to go?
Yeah,
If never.
so it was just more putting it on there to talk to you guys about the fact that, I've got to actively, and then in the meantime, this other person came
Now,
to us, but I think I'll still send something out and just,
yeah, well, you should probably be in touch with this guy as you.
yeah, I did, I
As
emailed
you-
him
yeah.
to see, he may not be and I guess the other piece of this is, and since he emailed us, are we ready to appoint a constable?
I don't know.
Or do you think that we should wait until we have continue this?
I would just simply say that by being hasty with that, we sort of commit ourselves to a course that we may not have fully thought out and planned out.
Right.
Okay.
I mean,
That-
by law, we're
We
supposed
could
to
do it
have
for a
one
short
appointed.
term, I suppose,
Yeah.
in order to fill that position, but before we, I think,
Well, I don't think we would be committing to
well, I'm just simply
much
saying.
other than appointing a
Right.
constable.
Right, but, once somebody is there, then.
Is a
Right.
constable a yearly appointment? It is, right?
Yes. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, so that could be
Wasn't there somebody in town who was interested in the constable position?
There was, but and I told him the
Meeting House
same.
Lane or something?
Yeah, and I had told him the same, is that we weren't quite sure what the constable,
What their role was.
I mean, I know what their role is by statute.
Right.
That's
right.
easy to point out, but it was more because we were having this broader discussion about public safety. So I had told him the same thing, are you interested in animal control right now? And I haven't heard back from him. So, I mean, I could reach out to him again, but
Which we probably should do,
Yeah.
just because he came up
yeah.
first. But was he, I mean, constable doesn't statutorily include animal control, is that correct?
That is correct. Our
Right.
animal control ordinance says that our constable
Can do, right.
is an animal
Act
control
as.
officer. So if you look at animal
Right.
control officer in the definition, it says town manager, health
Right.
officer, constable, or any other appointed person by the select board. Oh, Steve. It says Steve.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I was thinking.
So, but no, it's not automatically.
Right, yeah,
Yeah.
because
I could call on them
I wouldn't
to-
think that somebody who, I mean, obviously, this fellow Andrew.
Was interested in
is
both.
potentially interested in both. I don't know that somebody who was interested in being the constable would necessarily be interested
Right.
in animal control.
Or vice
but
versa. I mean,
I do think we would owe it to that person who was
Yeah, to
interested
contact them,
on
yeah.
Meeting House Lane, because that was several months ago. And whether it makes sense to appoint somebody to the role of constable or not, I guess it depends on how we would define the role of constable.
I mean, I guess we could appoint somebody with letting them know that we're exploring this and this is only until March of 2017.
Right,
And at that point, we may not reappoint you because the definition of what we want may not be what you want to do or that you're qualified to do. I don't know.
right. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess we don't know. I mean, I think that having a constable would be for the purpose of doing what a constable does, primarily
Right.
serving.
A clear
Yeah.
definition of what we expect, and then, is that something that they're.
Well, I mean, to begin with,
Willing to work with.
It would just be by what they can do
but
by
with an
statute,
Right.
understanding that-
which is very little.
Yeah, no, because I certainly,
But with an
I'm certain,
understanding that we may be expanding or altering that role.
right,
And
no.
those expectations.
And I'm certainly not thinking that we're likely to be expecting, not that we definitely won't be, but I don't think we're looking at dramatically expanding the role of the constable in Putney as sort of a means of law enforcement.
I didn't think
not
so
that we-
either, but a couple people since that public safety meeting have come to me and asked if we were really exploring that, because it did come up at the public safety
Right.
meeting, that is there a possibility to have a constable position where they're more like just the face of, they're not
Right.
really,
Yeah,
so
That
that,
community outreach,
Right.
social work side.
so
of-
that's where I'm
Being a
getting this, I'm
constable,
feeling a
policing,
little bit
that-
unsure what we want, because we might, the people that have expressed an interest in it may not be the people that really wanna do, for lack of a better term, social work, and out there, they may really
Exactly.
just wanna
And that's-
do,
I mean, I think, this discussion is sort of ongoing.
I know,
think until
it's-
we're a little more clear about what our expectations, though I also, I really understand your point of saying we certainly have somebody to fill that spot if then they
I mean, I guess-
decide if they want to
right, so
follow
then-
up on what we actually come through with.
Right, so then a part of me is like, well, we're statutorily obligated
To appoint.
to appoint somebody, and if we have 2 people
We should be.
that are interested,
Yeah.
we probably shouldn't be putting it off,
No,
but they're,
and
we're
I would
in
think-
flux right now a little bit,
But
so
I think it, like you said, as long as we're
clear.
transparent about that, I think it would be worth, if either of those people, if you can be in touch with them and
Yeah,
and
Right,
have that
obviously.
conversation and
Yeah.
say,
Come before
we're
us,
not sure
give
what
us a
this means.
chance.
And exactly, I mean, it might be, we might have, we don't know either of them, but it might be that somebody sits down and says, this is what I think the constable should be doing, and we say, oh, bang, light bulb goes off. Yeah, that's our person, who knows,
Yeah.
No idea. Yeah,
This appointment would go till next town meeting, right?
just till,
Yeah.
yeah.
So chances of us changing anything with the constable
yes.
anyway prior to December 31st or
Exactly.
right, that's
2
what I'm
months.
thinking,
Right.
yeah.
No, and I think that, the other reality is that we don't seem to have dramatically missed having a constable. I mean, I don't think,
No.
it's not like that's a discussion that
No, the
comes up
animal
of-
control officer
Is the big part of
big
it,
part of
exactly.
it, yeah.
Yeah. But if we did have somebody who was interested in being a
Both.
community-oriented, active participant in the constable position, that could be a
Yeah,
valuable thing, so
all right, so,
probably ought to be in touch with both of them and have that conversation. But I guess my feeling would be certainly, do we all agree that Cynthia has leeway as far
That's
as
exactly right.
animal
Yes,
control,
yes.
that she
Yes.
should explore the options and do what you need to do? Or,
Yeah. yeah, something's gotta happen, because I can't, I feel.
You can't be the animal
Well,
control
it's not that
officer. No,
I
know,
feel
but it's
really
not.
bad when someone calls and I do nothing about it, because
Right.
I was that person that called my town and they did nothing, and it would make me really mad. And now I understand
right,
that their hands are kind of tied, because you have volunteer people doing this position, that sometimes is not safe,
right,
and you're kind of at a loss as to what
Yeah.
to do.
yeah.
I think that I'm hoping that if I can get some time, and I think something needs to change globally for all of us. I don't know what that means, but this animal control situation is,
Obviously a problem.
yeah,
Well, that would be another thing to talk with this fellow Andrew about, is he interested in a bigger picture?
Yeah.
I have no idea. But if he is, that might be helpful, because, this is a guy that from the email, why don't I read the email maybe? Dear Cynthia Stoddard, I am interested in filling 2 volunteer positions with the town of Putney. Currently, I do not know if these positions are still open, which are constable and animal control officer. Any information you can provide me on how to apply, as well as requirements for those 2 positions, would be greatly appreciated. Just a little biographical information on myself that I feel is important. I'm a U.S. Army combat vet of OEF and OIF, and I am on my 3rd year of appointment by the Governor of Vermont to be the Vermont Veterans Home Board of Trustees, where I serve on a number of board committees. One of my most important duties for the board is serving as the chairman of the Ombudsman Committee. I have a number of certifications, including Wildland First Aid, Adult and Child CPR, as well as State of Vermont certification in traffic control. I graduated with honors from Ashworth College's Professional Private Investigation Program, which I plan to obtain more training from there in the security services. I am also on-call security officer for Mount Snow in Dover, Vermont. Again, thank you for your time, and any information, including
Yeah.
required applications, if the positions are still open, I would love to give it a shot of serving the people of Putney.
right, so he may have an interest in helping more than one community.
And being a bigger
Yeah.
picture kind of guy, it sounds like, so,
All right, so I'll get in touch with both of the people, him and the other one that I can't remember his name either, but that asked me a few months ago, and maybe,
Something will come of it.
yeah. And I'm gonna put something out.
For animal control, because
Yeah,
if this
for animal
doesn't, if it
control.
doesn't pan out
Yeah.
for whatever reason,
Yeah, we need somebody.
yeah,
I mean, if people could just have their dogs stop barking when it's bothering the neighbor.
Good luck.
I just,
seems,
really,
seems simple.
it seems so simple.
Yeah.
Or, you know, there are leash laws in town. And, you know, we've always been pretty lenient on people as far as issuing violations and fining people. But it seems to me like that's going to be what we're going to have to do. People just don't
Pay attention.
pay attention. They don't care what their neighbors are thinking.
Right.
They don't, and it's too bad. So, you know, I know Henry really wanted to start knocking on doors and trying to get animals registered that were not, and you know, it's just a time thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, what did we figure? I mean,
And to be-
50% of them weren't?
Yeah,
Or
I would
something like
say
that.
probably. Yeah, I mean, we have people call and say, you know, this dog is harassing us on the road. I'm not really sure which house it's coming from. They describe it. Our program, you can sort by breed and you know, you look at like one road and they're talking about seeing all these dogs and there's like 2 that are registered on the road. You know, so. All right, so I will actively start doing that. Of course, it's gonna get cold again. The dogs are gonna be inside, and
Yeah.
it's been really busy this last few weeks with it. So we'll see what we can do.
All right. Cemetery fund balance definitions and approval.
So I just wanted to, this was one of the things that has been in our audit findings for the last 2 years, is that the fund balances have not been clearly defined and what the money can be used for. So Betsy and I have been working together on coming up with just so one of the documents I gave you is just kind of a policies and procedures document. And basically what her and I came up with, and this part of it doesn't have to do with the fund balance approval, but trying to give a cemetery commissioner a guideline as to what to do when things come up. One of the things that was clear when I went through all of the paperwork was there was money given to the town it was $5,000, and it stated in there that it was money to be used for the care of uncared for cemeteries. So one of the things that I tried to do was start to list all the cemeteries, the ones that are belonged by the town, the ones that are privately owned, where are these uncared for cemeteries that were defined in this gift that was given to us. So right now, Betsy's actively going out and she's gonna look at all the cemeteries. She is gonna start making lists of things that need to be done, which is something that we've asked for. Doing some research on cemeteries, and she'll help me define this section. That will give us a clearer understanding of which of these cemeteries this $5,000 belongs to.
And I think there are other cemeteries, is
There
that
are
right?
quite a few other.
Yeah.
This was an attempt to list only the town ones.
Sort of the more.
Yeah, there's quite a few more.
Yeah.
And then what does care of a cemetery mean? Because when you start talking
Right.
about, you know, we talk about mowing a lot, but does care of a cemetery mean that we have to fix
Stone
stones?
walls,
Does that mean we
trees,
have
yeah,
to take
right.
trees down?
Yeah.
What is the level of care that people paid for when they paid for perpetual care?
Right.
You know, so she was gonna try to look into that, and because when we figured out kind of what we thought where the money belonged, it was like, okay, so what can we spend that on? You know, what is, you know, if there are 12 stones that are broken in a cemetery, do you actually fix them? Is that your responsibility to fix them? We really don't know.
And it's expensive to fix stones.
Yeah.
Yeah, and none of that is stipulated in this.
No, all this money, this
Yeah.
particular money, so I also gave you a trial balance of the cemetery fund. It's page 1 of 3, there's 3 pages total. So if you look up in the asset section where it says CD Chittenden Bank bequest, and it's for $7,794.91, that's that money, it's grown since then. So part of the figuring out what the $50,000 what we can use it for, part of it was just digging through files and just saying, okay, is there anything telling me what specifically any of the money can be used for?
And these other ones are not well defined as far as
well,
you
so
know?
that's what, if you go to the last page of that policies, that's what I want to talk to you guys about tonight, because I want to be sure before the auditor does anything that it's on the record that these are the things that I found. I'm hoping that if anybody has any other information, if they hear or they read the minutes to the meeting, they have any other information that they can add to this, that they would come forward and tell me. But this was the best I could do, just digging through boxes of papers and just trying to figure out where the money came from. So the $7,000 is pretty clear. That was the $5,000 that was given to us. That's for uncared for cemeteries. Those need to be defined, and that's what, and Betsy's working on that. So that's the restricted money.
And this was a bequest upon somebody's passing, is that?
Yeah.
So we couldn't get that information from
Yeah,
that person or the
No.
family, or, okay, what the intention was, yeah.
So then we have non-spendable funds, because when the auditor looks at money, when we look at money, we have to understand out of the 50,000 that we have in here, what can we spend,
Right.
what can we not spend, and
Right.
there's these, GASB has these certain levels of descriptions.
Right,
So the non-spendable is the mutual funds, which is the 16,000. That's mutual funds we have at Edward Jones. In 1997, there was a vote that authorized to consolidate the assets of several of our cemeteries and to invest them for the sole purpose of maintaining the town cemeteries.
so we can't spend that principal, but we can spend
Right,
any earnings.
right. That's what the
So that's
assigned
an
is,
endowment per se.
which
Yeah,
is the
okay.
3,000. That's the cash that sits at Edward Jones that I could get at any point.
Okay,
And that is what we've earned off of that principal.
yeah,
And that can be used for maintaining the town of Putney cemeteries. So the question that we're trying to answer is, what does maintaining mean? I mean, I
Right.
think that can be defined by the town. You know, what do we want to commit to?
right,
And then the $23,000, which is the cash, that's the checking account that we just hold money in. That money, it came from transfers from the general fund, the annual transfer, the appropriation, basically the mowing. That's money that has just built up in,
because it hasn't been spent
Yeah.
completely annually. But
Right.
the 23,
so that can be used for anything
does that 23 include the money?
from Mount Pleasant.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so the money that was transferred to the town when we took over Mount Pleasant,
Yes.
is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
Okay.
so there was, out of that 23,000, there was 16,000 something given to us when we took over Mount Pleasant. I could not find anywhere if that $16,000 was dedicated for a specific purpose. So I'm calling it unassigned, available to do care of cemeteries, whatever, it's not restricted. So that's why I say, unless somebody else has information for me,
This is what you have.
this is what I have, it's the best I could do with the information that I have in front of me. And some of going through it came from Laura Heller, had some spreadsheets
Right.
that, you know, but the Mount Pleasant money is really what is the biggest bulk of this cash account.
And do we have any obligation, as far as you know, to, since that money came from Mount Pleasant, to spend it on Mount Pleasant?
No, and that's what I can't find anywhere, and I haven't been told that. You know, the auditor was like, well, did they say that when they gave it to you? I mean, you acquired it, so you acquired their assets, and nothing you know, at one time I had heard maybe some of that money was given to the Mount Pleasant Association to help purchase more land at some point to put more cemetery, but I couldn't find that anywhere. Which, even if that was the case, having it unassigned for not a specific purpose, if we decided that that's what we wanted to use it for, was to buy some land to do that, we could. So,
And how did the tree clearing, what happened with, because it seems that there are still some
there's still some that need to be
dead
done.
trees, and
Yeah.
is that because that
And
project has not been completed?
I
or
think it
because-
hasn't been completed.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah. And I'm not quite sure why,
yeah,
but I would have to double check with Betsy. But that's what I think that she said to me the last time.
because there's one big dead one up in the back corner,
Yeah.
but
Which
still.
fortunately is leaning away from
I know,
ourselves, which is
yeah.
good. So
Yeah.
it's done.
I mean, it may just be that it's, you know, sort of almost
I also
impossible
don't know
to get at.
whose property that is right behind it, maybe there was some issue, somebody didn't want.
Could be complicated, I don't know, yeah, no, I'm just wondering why that hasn't been.
Yeah, I don't know, but it seems like the last time I talked to her, she said she knew there was some more work to be
That
done,
needed
but I
to be
didn't know
done.
why.
Okay.
So, I mean, I put on here that this may need some type of approval. It doesn't really need a board action, it's more to get it into the record, that this is what I'm proposing to the auditor as my findings and how I'm going to allocate this in the cemetery fund. He went over it with me, he thought it was appropriate, he didn't have any major questions for me. And basically put it in the record if anybody else has any information for me that I might have missed, then.
So,
And then this will come back to you guys at some point, this policy and procedure for, and hopefully with the cemetery commissioners to kind of just together say, yes, this is how we think this should operate.
and you say in here, even though the law allows the cemetery commissioners to act as the governing body in respect to care and maintenance of the cemeteries, it is the desire of the town that the commissioners and the select board work together. Where does that come from?
Me,
Okay. So it's your sense that people would like the select board and the commissioners to work together?
it's my sense because of the assumption that when something isn't getting done, that it does fall back on
That it comes back
me
to this
or the
office.
select board.
Right, but
So I would hope-
although, as is clearly defined in Title 18, VSA Chapter 121, Section
The select board has
5373,
no authority.
the town of Putney elects a board of 3 cemetery commissioners. They each have a tier of 3 terms, staggered, a term of 3 years. They each have a 3-year term, and the terms are staggered. The commissioners shall have the care and management of the burial grounds and exercise all powers, rights, and duties with respect to care and management. Because the town has chosen to elect a separately elected board, all responsibility on the part of the select board ceases. So it's very clear that we're,
Yeah, it could be that when the cemetery commissioners go over this,
Right.
they just strike that right out of there.
Right.
That was me.
Responsibility ends, but our capacity to work with them does not.
Yes.
So,
right, no, I just, you know, I don't know, I mean, no, I think we would comfortably take a little bit more responsibility, but I'm not sure we don't have the right to do that
No.
statutorily. So it's really not our purview.
No.
So, yes.
Although I understand it's not committed in any way in writing, I would sort of think the funds that came when you acquired Mount Pleasant had been received by somebody, from somebody for that particular cemetery because someone they knew was buried there. Would that make sense? Is that where cemeteries get their money from?
Some of it, yeah, it's all pretty vague. But yes, no, and that's sort of what I was.
Yeah, because one of the concerns that I had when I was going through all this is that there is this perpetual care that you pay for
Right.
when you,
Yeah,
right.
and you expect that.
But
Right.
what does, first of all, what is that definition? What does that mean? I'm not really sure. Is that maintaining the stone? Is that mowing? I don't know what perpetual care.
Oh, yeah, it seems like some even for-profit cemetery like should be able to define that.
Right, so
somehow.
that's one of the things we're talking about. And then the amount that has been paid for perpetual care in no way, shape, or form could actually even pay for that now, because it was very little amount of money.
Right.
The amount of interest you earn on that money, there's no way that that actually covers the cost.
I'm
So-
sure that's true.
Yeah, so this is an attempt to make all of our cemeteries basically equal in the way that we treat them, and whatever money we have available is, but yeah, like
And-
you said, if
and-
somebody came to me and said, whoa, that's $16,000, Cynthia came because somebody donated it to put a fountain in the middle of the cemetery, or to somebody donated it to make sure that their plot was taken care of in a certain way, that's a different story, but I can't find that anywhere.
And it would appear in
In
the,
absence of
when
that.
we, yeah, in absence of that, exactly.
Like clarity.
What I would say is that the appearance of how, when that came to us, was that it was for all practical purposes a general fund of that cemetery.
Right. So once
Should
we
it
took
be
it
used
over-
specifically on that cemetery? I'm guessing that given that the cemetery was given to the town and the town is statutorily required to accept that cemetery, that anything that's in their general fund would then become monies of the cemetery commission and therefore be able to be
Yeah, and
distributed
our-
differently unless specifically
Right, and we could
stated
clearly,
otherwise. So
I mean,
that's my assumption, I don't know.
I would love to know if there was a donation for a specific purpose, but clearly, since we've owned it, we've spent that $16,000, because we've,
Several times.
yeah, the first year that we took it over, we didn't have money
Right.
allocated for the mowing, and that was a huge jump in our mowing bill. And every year since, the mowing for that cemetery alone is
Expensive.
expensive. So we really technically, I could say that money's been spent.
Spent, right.
It's
yeah.
just that we upped the allocation from the town
In
general
order to
fund
compensate
in
for
order
that,
to
right.
compensate for that
Yeah.
over the years. So I think we could technically say, you know, if it should have been used for the care that, well, we used it first. But I would be more interested if somebody said, oh, well, I know at least 5,000 was dedicated for XYZ, and that never got done. That's a different thing for me. You know, like if somebody wanted to
You know,
put another
Show
water.
us the paper.
Right,
You know,
exactly.
Show us
Yeah.
the deed, or show us
Yeah.
the agreement
Yeah.
that does that. But
I mean,
until
but it's the hope
that-
for me that any of our town cemeteries that we are responsible for caring for, whether it's perpetual care, whatever it is, that we treat them all equally.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and care
a
for
little-
them in the
and a-
same
And a
way.
little better than, I mean, you know, the problem is, you know, this sort of sounds like a chunk of money, but in all reality, when you look at taking care of the amount of cemeteries and the land,
Right.
et cetera, we could spend this money immediately
Yeah.
tuning these places up, and then where are we
Sure.
at? So,
Yeah.
When someone's interred, do they pay for a public cemetery? Like one of our town cemeteries, are they?
you purchase a plot,
You purchase a
but
plot
I don't know how that works.
and the
exactly.
headstone? So do they still own the headstone?
Yeah, well, they actually have a deed to that little section.
To that
of land.
plot, right.
So does that make, I guess I'm getting to the question of if a headstone breaks or
Right.
something.
Who owns it?
Isn't-
Right, and
if
that
it's their
was, that's,
deed,
right, and that's the
Yeah.
conversation that Betsy and I have is, well, what is perpetual care? What are we
Right.
caring for?
Mhm.
Are we caring for, I don't know. I really haven't taken the time to, I'm sure there's a definition somewhere, but, and that was Betsy, she said to me, well, I'm not sure we really have because they own that space, if we have the legal responsibility to do anything, unless when you purchase the plot, perpetual care said this is what we'll care
Yeah.
for.
Right.
You know, you're paying for this plot, and that's not, I'm sure there's people watching this that'll be like, well, that's an easy answer. I mean, I just haven't, I was dealing with the money piece of it first, and as I was dealing with the money piece of it, it was like, we really need to, because Betsy would come in and she's like, when I sell a plot, I'm not sure what the process is.
Right.
You know, we don't have anything defined for our cemetery commissioners.
Right.
And I would assume that there's more statute related to
Oh,
that.
I'm sure, yeah.
But, you know,
But this
you
is,
know, the sort of, the way I think of it is that we're probably responsible for maintaining infrastructure, but the plots are those of the individuals, but then what happens?
I mean, I know when I was
there are
looking through
individuals
those,
still
when I
around.
was looking through those books, perpetual care, there was a fee that somebody had to pay, and they were not mowing that one plot
Right.
because they had not paid their $4 or whatever it was.
Mhm.
So, you know, and there was this big discussion because this person apparently was town clerk for a long time, and, you know, it's like, we really should honor that, you know, so, and then there, you know, it used to be that you didn't mow cemeteries, that's why
Right.
stones were so tall, so that when the grass grew, because they didn't have lawn mowers.
Yeah.
So, when was perpetual care defined?
And what?
And what,
and
yeah.
And how was it defined?
Right.
Yeah.
And just one more thing for clarification, the bequest, the $5,000
Yeah.
bequest, and that sounds like it's for any cemetery, public or private.
It says for the care of the uncared for
Right.
cemeteries.
So it doesn't,
I don't know at the time if there was
Yeah.
like the Cathan Cemetery maybe might
Right,
be
there
one.
are
Oh,
a
sure,
handful
there's
of them
no-
around.
there's a number, right,
Yeah,
I mean,
that aren't, that
I
aren't
think
very
maybe
familiar.
somebody
The
left-
Allen Cemetery is just below
Right,
my
yeah.
house.
I think
By your
somebody
place,
left
yeah.
money
It's
saying, look, I
virtually
know this
impossible
isn't the
to
town's
find.
Yeah.
responsibility,
I happened upon it one time.
but
Yeah,
I
no,
really
but-
want somebody
oh,
to care for
the number
these,
of times over the years.
you know.
however,
and-
the other funds
Yeah.
would only be for public.
Right,
Okay. So
Right.
there's at least a separation there.
you know.
Because you could, I
There's
mean,
Laura
cost
Heller
of
when
care,
we get her
right?
Yeah.
Laura Heller's up there going, Cynthia, come on, don't you
Yeah,
do
It's
this
not
stuff.
that complicated.
I can answer that in 5 seconds. So at least now I feel a little bit better about when they come to me about where we are with money.
At least you know.
I know that,
something.
no, you're
Yeah.
not touching this $7,000. You know, if you're trying to knock a tree down and clean up or whatever, that's not for that. But that the 23,000, yes, we have money for you to do that.
Yeah, yeah, although that's tricky because, you know, I mean, if one were to ask Jeff Gaddis, for example, I'm assuming he would refer to Maple Grove as uncared for, so.
I
mean,
think now he might not, because I think
it's
that
a little more
it's
cared
getting,
for,
it's, yeah, it's getting some
but,
attention.
you know, that's a very ill-defined.
No, I know,
You know,
totally.
that's not very specific, because, yeah, like you say, I mean, does that mean the Allen Cemetery, or does it mean that somebody wasn't pleased with the fact that whatever cemetery was less cared for than they chose, and so that's how they worded it? Who knows?
You know, and the other thing that came up, which is, I mean, it's good that we're starting to discuss all this and trying to come up with some definitions and some policies. One of the things that we've been tracking the mowings this summer, because we have one
Right.
person doing all of it, and this was kind of a test year. You
Yeah.
know, we gave you a number, we wanted it done. And it's being done a little bit more at some of the cemeteries
Right.
than what. So I asked Eric about it, and he's like, well, I got a call, you know, they're gonna have a funeral up there, and
Right.
they wanted to
they
have
want
it
cleaned
done.
up. Right.
And it's like, okay, well, we need to come up with what is our level
Right.
of
Well, I mean, that's exactly it.
Yeah.
They're sort of
Right.
what's getting used the
whose
most.
eye is it
1, 2,
that,
3,
yeah.
you know,
Determines.
what cemeteries are actually open to new interments.
Right,
Right now,
Well, I think
Mount Pleasant, there might be a few
maybe a few in
spots in
Maple
East
Grove.
Putney.
Yeah,
And
I don't know.
the West Hill Cemetery, I'm sure is, I don't know, I'm remembering a conversation with Kathleen at
Yeah.
one point, just asking where
Yeah.
it was still even viable. So I'd sort of start at that point, say, okay, Mount Pleasant is, you know, obviously
right. I mean, Betsy
the
had a
public
complaint.
cemetery with a few plots still existing and some smaller cemeteries. And then below that are, you know, the North Burial Ground, you know, where it's still visible and, you know, visitable and whatnot.
Right.
As in comparison to something like the Dusty Ridge Cemetery or the Allen Cemetery, the small cemeteries like that, which where no one goes or.
But one of the, Betsy had a complaint, I can't remember which cemetery it was, but that it's got poison ivy everywhere. You know, and so, yes, we contracted with somebody to do mowing, but we didn't, you know, tell them that you're gonna have to pull out poison ivy in this one.
No.
And so that's a question, is that something that we,
Right, does that fall under perpetual
Right.
care? Yeah.
you know, does it fall under perpetual care? Is it something that we should be including in this bid process when, you know,
Boy, that's not an easy process.
no,
mean,
I know,
if it's-
so
if it's
apparently
really-
it got taken out years, there was somebody that went in there, and I can't remember which cemetery it was, but so it's been a good discussion. Betsy and I have been sitting down and saying, okay, you know, this is the kind of stuff that we just need so that when somebody calls you, you know what you can say.
Right.
You know, yes, we do that. No, we don't do that.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
Poison ivy seems a big one, because if you can't walk in.
Yeah.
Wave it.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Although,
But again,
trying to
you know,
control it
the-
is-
right. The more viable, more available, more public the cemetery. Obviously, you want to deal with that. But again,
But this has
you're not
been
gonna
this has
clear
been
out
the
poison ivy on Holland Hill Road or on the.
this has been the
Highlands.
question that we've had since I've been here is give us a wish list of everything that needs
right,
to be done
right.
if you had all the money and let's
Right.
start
And
figuring
then-
out
and
what's
then-
the priority
yeah,
and what's
yeah.
we'll come up with a plan of, you know, each year putting a little bit of money aside or whatever it is. But-
Yeah, no, and it would be helpful to have more clarity on the statutory end of it too, because, you know, some definition as to
Yeah.
what we really are responsible for, because if it is just infrastructure, then, you know, the road through Mount Pleasant, for
Right.
example, you know, whatever, the access gates that, you know, I don't know what that,
Yeah.
you know, but we should probably
Yeah.
work on defining that more.
So it's progress.
Good.
Let's leave it at that.
All right. It's all yours, Cynthia.
So I just wanted to, the sewer asset project that we have going on, I had told you last time that we got the $13,000 grant. I called them today to ask them how the funding was going to work on that because I got the grant documentation to sign today. And basically what they were doing is everything that we spend on this project is going to go through the loan first.
Mhm.
The grant will pay off whatever we owe on that loan. So essentially they're trying to make it so we pay $0 for this project.
That's nice.
We were one of two communities, I guess, that they did that with because they felt that these two communities were willing, without the grant, that was important enough for them to come up with the 50%. And they really wanted to give us that kind of boost, recognition, yeah. So where we are with the project is they're almost done with all of the infrastructure data gathering. I think on the 15th of September we're going to get together. And I don't know what exactly they'll have then. Most of the work that's been being done and the data collection and the field work has been done with the help of Chris Hayes at Simons. He's been out there with them. So that's moving along and should be end of September probably that we'll be done with it, which will be good timing for budget this year.
You obviously already know the answer to this question. I just wondered, is this the whole system or just a certain portion of the system that's
Nope,
being
the whole
inventoried?
system.
The whole
Whole
system?
system, yeah.
And what's the reason for doing it?
Just getting all of our assets documented, making sure that we understand what are our critical, which assets are critical as far as needing to be replaced, the time frame they need to be replaced, what their lifespan is,
Okay,
so that we can come up with a good capital plan.
so this is anticipatory?
Yeah.
There's no specific problems?
Nope,
The other thing
well, they
that's-
might come up with some, I don't know. I mean,
Right.
they're out there looking at it, but.
The other thing that's nice about this is it's giving us GIS mapping
Yeah.
of everything,
Oh.
so that, you know, in the event of 4
You
feet
know
of
where the
snow
pipe
and we
is.
need to dig something
Yeah.
up, yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
so that's pretty useful.
The Route 5 Bridge project, I just put it on here because mostly as a reminder to me to call them and find out,
Mhm.
and I called and I haven't got a response back. I've heard nothing about that bridge
Since they were here.
since they were here. The other reason I called them was we are just about ready, the construction documents and the bid package are almost ready for phase 2 of the sidewalk. Hopefully going out to bid maybe November. So I wanted to know
And
the timing.
phase 3,
I just got plans today to bring back to the Robinsons with a change to their their property,
Mhm.
right of way stuff, so I'm waiting to try to get that sorted out before we continue with the other.
And are you hoping to put that out to bid?
It's not gonna go at the same time.
No,
No.
but in the spring maybe, or not?
I
mean,
wouldn't think spring, I would say probably summer, or like fall next year.
So it won't be getting completed next year?
No.
Okay.
I mean, unless a miracle happens, and
Right.
then that's, I mean, if I bring that plan to the Robinsons and they're like, oh yeah, that's fine, I think that, you know, that's, we're trying to work really closely with them, and then, but no. I mean, and they're not, Robinsons aren't holding it up, it's just
It's just the overall, the big picture.
the big picture,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. And they're about to start on Hickory Ridge Road.
Yes, September 6th.
So Hickory Ridge Road will be, the first part of Hickory Ridge Road will be closed for
Yep.
several weeks.
We put a road closure notification, we're putting it on iPutney, I put it on Facebook, and it's posted up there right now.
Yeah.
I sent out, there's a copy of it in there and you guys don't need to read it right now, but I sent out a request for estimates, seeking proposals for the replacement of the carpet here, and I included in it moving of the furniture. That was one of the things that's really stopping me from getting it done. I was trying to figure out how we were
Deal
gonna
with
do it.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, this is dumb, why am I trying to figure it out? So, those I think I have set to be back in September.
And did you send them to specific
I
people,
did,
or you
yeah.
did? And did you put it out in general also, or
I
does
didn't.
it not work that way?
No, I mean, for the smaller, we don't have to.
Yeah.
We send it out to 4 different places.
Sure.
So hopefully we'll get some people back, some proposals back for that. One person stopped the other day. What it's going to do though is we probably are gonna have to close the office
For a day or two.
yeah. Moving the furniture, the one person I talked to the other day, he said they could probably, if there's no furniture in there, they could probably get 1 full day of work, get the carpets in.
get it done,
He
yeah.
said it's that furniture moving and
Right.
where you're putting everything and.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
And does it go all the way from your office all the way down to
yeah,
the?
we won't do Anita's office because hers is fairly new. And I'm not moving
I
on.
was just gonna say,
Let's move past that one.
Yeah,
picture in my
but it
mind.
is, her carpet's actually, if it was bad, I would actually,
Think about it.
yeah, but it's not that bad, so, yeah, so hopefully we'll get some good, things to compare. And then I didn't put this on there, but September 28th is the day that they're coming from the state to do the village walkthrough for the designated village. Remember we were talking about maybe expanding the map and he wanted to come down, so I'll get you guys the time. He'll be here prior to the select board meeting and then he'll come to the select board meeting, to talk about that. And just a quick, we had a OSHA inspection yesterday, he stopped in yesterday,
OSHA?
yeah.
Okay.
He,
Vermont.
yeah,
Oh, Vermont. OSHA,
Yeah.
I see, okay.
he went to the town garage and he went to the treatment plant. We had 4 things that were violations at the highway garage. Nothing major.
And, no, okay.
I mean, well, major to him, I mean, we'll get a citation.
Right.
And one of them was, there was something in front of the electrical panel, there's some new labeling requirements that Brian didn't know about. There was something in blocking the exit door in the back, and, something to do with the bench grinder.
And this was an unannounced visit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Sounds.
there was something that he pointed out to us that I was not aware of, was that they have it's called Project Works Safe. They can come down. So I'm going to schedule them with them in like 6 months to come down and go through all the buildings with me.
We've done that
I
before.
was
It
gonna say,
seems
yes,
to me.
we, at the time, we had some violations.
Yep, and then they came down and worked through it.
Oh, well, I don't know. So and what we'll do is do that and then try to have them come once a year, because one of the things that I talked to the guy about was, so this new labeling thing came down in 2013. How are we supposed to know about it? We don't have a dedicated safety, you know, somebody on staff like they might have at a Putney paper or, so how do we keep informed about it? What is the best way for me to do it? And we can sign up for a newsletter, which I will do. But that was one of the suggestions he had is,
Have
you
a
know,
visit.
just have them come in.
Yeah.
They're not gonna issue a
Right, tell you
violation,
what
tell
you
you what you need
need
to
to do.
do.
No, that's a good idea.
So I think we'll, in like 6 months, have them come, because he didn't look at this building and he didn't look at the pool.
Yeah, no, when it happened the last time, it was essentially, they came in, they did an inspection, there were some infractions, and then they, I think it was sort of the same idea, but they basically came in and did a remediation training in order to clean it up, and then
Yeah,
they
we'll
re-inspected kind of thing,
Yeah.
and.
So when we get he said it could take 2 months for them to get us the report and the citations, but when he does, I'll set up there's this interview process where you can talk to the person and they can try, you know, they'll work with you on the fines.
Right.
So hopefully it won't be, and down at the treatment plant, the labeling was an issue.
Wasn't an issue?
Yeah, on a couple containers, but they're issuing that violation to Simon's operation,
Yeah.
not to us.
And Simons should know that, I mean, not.
Well, I don't know.
Not to point a finger, but
Yeah.
you know.
You'd think they'd be current.
That's, yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
that's, you
Yeah.
know, that's.
So, that was that, it happened yesterday. There's a budget report in there, nothing to report on there, just for you to take home and read tonight. Now there's 2 reports though, the
Okay,
general
highway.
fund and the highway.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're only a couple months into the year,
Any
so.
surprises?
No, I haven't even, there's some things that I need to do. I need to move taxes over to the highway and, that's all I have, I think. Is it yours? Yeah, that's yours for now.
Oh, yeah, that's fine. The next meeting is the
2 weeks.
14th, is that right?
Yeah.
September 14th, okay.
Stephen Bain, check for $38,000.
It's the amount of the taxes that were paid in excess at tax sale last year. He did not redeem his property.
Oh, he didn't?
No.
Oh.
So he gets the balance of what was paid at, between what was paid at tax sale and what was owed the day of the tax sale.
So he no longer owns that property?
We haven't gotten the deed yet, but I won't let that check go until we get the deed filed in the town clerk's office.
Actually see it.
The pool is closed. That was a huge success this summer. We had a lot of great things.
I've heard a lot
Yeah.
of stuff
Yeah.
about it, yeah. It's for Scott.
Any more discussion about the school district payment being moved to the
Yeah,
supervisory
I'd
unit?
like to know.
Nope, not with me. You mean the books? Is that what you mean? Having,
So that Anita,
Anita doesn't have to do the,
right,
yeah,
but I have not heard anything. I just want to make sure that's what you're talking about, but yeah.
yeah, I know they are. I was accepting
Something
all this
to ask.
yesterday and they were,
I can ask.
or ask John, you know, I don't know whether that is sort of recommended. I don't know whether, I guess. doesn't-
Did Alice talk to her?
No, she talked to, that night, that we talked about it, remember?
Yeah, with Anita.
Yeah.
But I don't know if anybody, I mean, I told her that, I don't know, I can ask her.
They weren't familiar with it at central office yet.
Familiar with,
With this possible change, because I know it would help them too.
right.
Do you know what we're talking about? Okay. Are we talking in code? Do you know?
Yes, you are.
Okay, I'm
Okay.
sorry. We're just talking about the fact that the treasurer could turn the bookkeeping of the school district financial stuff over to the supervisory union for them to do that instead of her doing it.
And in fact, they would like that.
They would like that, and most of the, I think
All of
all of them except for Putney have done that already.
Okay.
Yeah. It just adds another layer.
Mhm.
It's confusing.
I didn't mean to talk in code, sorry.
All right, anything else? Executive session? No? All right. Motion to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor? Aye, good, thank you all.